Killer bees. The name alone sounds like something out of a horror movie. Aggressive, deadly, and unstoppable. For decades, we have been told they are hyper-aggressive, mutant insects, spreading across continents, hunting humans, and more venomous than regular bees. The media called them killers. Movies turned them into monsters. And we believed it. But here's the thing. We were wrong. Killer bees are real, and they can be more dangerous than regular honeybees. But almost everything you think you know about them is myth and misunderstanding that snowballed into full-blown panic. Let's clear this up. First, the name. Killer bees is a media invention. Their actual name is Africanized honeybees. And yes, they were created by humans, but not in some evil lab breeding super soldiers. In the 1950s, a Brazilian scientist named Warwick Kerr was trying to breed a better honeybee for South America. European honeybees, the ones beekeepers use, produce a lot of honey, but they are not great in tropical climates. African honeybees are tougher, more disease-resistant, and better adapted to heat. So Kerr crossbred them, mixing African genetics with the South American environment. The goal was a hard-working bee that could thrive in Brazil's climate and produce more honey. It was not supposed to be a weapon. It was agriculture. In 1957, 26 swarms escaped. They spread fast. Here's where the myths start. People say Africanized bees are bigger and more venomous than regular honeybees. Nope, they're actually slightly smaller, and their venom is identical. Chemically, the venom of an Africanized bee is the same as a European honeybee. Same toxins, same potency. One sting from an Africanized bee is no more dangerous than one sting from a regular bee. If you're allergic, either one can kill you. If you're not allergic, either one just hurts. The venom is not stronger. The bees are not mutants. They're just bees. So why the reputation? Because Africanized bees are more defensive. Way more defensive. A European honeybee colony will tolerate a lot before it attacks. You can walk near a hive, make some noise, even do some light gardening nearby, and they will mostly ignore you. Africanized bees, on the other hand, do not tolerate anything. Get within 50 feet of their hive, and they are on alert. Make a loud noise, lawnmower, chainsaw, even just yelling, and they perceive it as a threat. And when they feel threatened, they do not just send out a few guard bees to investigate. They send out hundreds. And here is the key difference. They chase. European honeybees will sting you if you get too close, but once you run away, they usually stop pursuing after a few dozen feet. Africanized bees will chase you for over a quarter mile. Some reports say up to half a mile. They are relentless. You can jump in water to escape. They hover above the water waiting for you to surface. You come up for air, they sting you. It is not that they are smarter or angrier. It is that their defensive radius is huge and their pursuit instinct is maxed out. Evolution in Africa made them like this. Honey badgers, ants, birds, and other predators constantly raid hives in Africa. Bees that defended aggressively survived. Bees that did not got wiped out. Africanized bees are the descendants of the most defensive colonies. It is in their DNA. Another myth is that Africanized bees actively hunt humans. No, they do not. They are not stalking you or targeting people. They are simply defending their hive. If you leave them alone, they will leave you alone. The problem is that leaving them alone has a much wider radius than with European bees. Most people do not even know there is a hive nearby until they have already triggered a defensive response. That is not hunting. That is defense. It is aggressive, over the top, and disproportionate, but still defense. Getting stung by Africanized bees is a death sentence. At least, that's what some people think. But that is not true. The venom is the same. One sting will not kill you unless you are allergic, and if you are allergic, any bee sting can kill you. The real danger with Africanized bees is the number of stings. Because they swarm in huge numbers and chase relentlessly, people get stung dozens, sometimes hundreds of times. That is when it becomes lethal. Not because each sting is more venomous, but because your body can only handle so much venom at once. 100 stings from European bees would also kill you. The difference is that European bees rarely sting in those numbers. Africanized bees do, frequently. Let's talk numbers. Since Africanized bees arrived in the Americas, they have been responsible for around 1,000 human deaths. That sounds like a lot, and it is tragic. For context, regular honeybees have killed about the same number of people in the United States alone over the same time period, mostly from allergic reactions. Compared to wasps and hornets, for example, the death toll from Africanized bees is much lower. Many other animals kill hundreds, if not thousands, of people per year. The point is, Africanized bees are dangerous. But they are not the apocalyptic swarm the media made them out to be. You are statistically more likely to die from a vending machine falling on you than from Africanized bees. And yet, we do not call them killer vending machines. So why the panic? In the 1970s and the 1980s, when Africanized bees were spreading north from Brazil, through Central America, and into Mexico, news coverage was non-stop. Headlines screamed killer bees invade, an unstoppable swarm heading for the US. Movies like The Swarm came out in 1978, showing bees destroying entire cities and killing thousands. It was sensational and terrifying, and mostly fiction. Yes, Africanized bees were spreading. Yes, they were more aggressive. But the idea that they were going to wipe out human populations is completely absurd. Bees do not work like that. They defend hives, not invade cities. And even if they did, they would be eradicated in probably a few hours. And here is something interesting. Africanized bees are actually less effective at making honey than European bees. They are more focused on defense and survival than production. Beekeepers don't want them. They're harder to manage, more likely to abandon hives, and they swarm more often, splitting the colony and leaving to start a new hive somewhere else. For commercial beekeeping, they're a problem. But for the bees themselves, they are thriving. They've spread across South America, Central America, and into the southern United States. They're all over, and they're not going anywhere. But here is the thing people don't realize. Africanized bees are slowly hybridizing with European bees. In areas where both populations exist, they interbreed. The offspring fall somewhere in between. They can be a bit more defensive than European bees, but not as aggressive as pure Africanized bees. Over time, in some regions, extreme defensiveness is mellowing out. Not everywhere, though. In hotter, more isolated areas, pure Africanized colonies still dominate. In places where European beekeeping is strong, the genetics are mixing. The killer bee invasion didn't end with human extinction. It ended with bees being bees. So, what should you actually know about Africanized bees? First, they look almost identical to regular honeybees. Second, if you see a bee, just leave it alone. Third, if you do get attacked by a swarm, run as fast as you can and get indoors as soon as possible. Here is the real takeaway. Africanized bees are more dangerous than regular bees. That's true, and you can't deny that. They defend harder, chase longer, and sting in bigger numbers. But they're not unstoppable mutant killing machines. They are still bees, defensive bees with a short temper and a long memory. The name killer bees was designed to scare you, and it worked. But now you know better. They're not hunting you. They're not super venomous. They're not going to end humanity. They're just bees that really don't want you near their hive. And honestly, that's fair. Leave them alone and they'll leave you alone. Get too close, and yes, you are going to have a bad time. But that is not a killer. That is just a pissed off neighbor.